Prince William and Kate Middleton's little girl is all grown up. Princess Charlotte, the only daughter of the Prince and Princess of Wales, turns 10 years old on May 2nd. And as tradition, the royal family unveils a portrait of the birthday girl to commemorate her milestone.
For years, Princess Charlotte has carried herself with quiet strength, always composed, always watchful. But behind that royal smile was a secret she never meant to keep forever. Now, everything is changing. In a moment that shocked even those closest to the crown, Charlotte decided to speak her truth, lifting the lid on long-held tensions inside the palace.
It's no surprise that Princess Charlotte resembles at least one of her parents, but which other royals does she take after? Keep watching for what the experts say.
And at the center of it all, Queen Camilla? What could push a young royal to break the silence in such a dramatic way? Let's dive in. The princess who sees everything. Princess Charlotte might be young, but her eyes miss nothing. She watches closely, not just with curiosity, but with a kind of quiet wisdom that surprises even the adults around her. She's not loud or rebellious. Instead, she listens, she studies, and she remembers. Over time, she's come to understand who people truly are, not through headlines or gossip, but through the energy they bring into a room, the warmth in their words, and the honesty in their actions. When people speak of Princess Diana, Charlotte notices the shift in their voices, the softness, the fondness, the way their eyes brighten, as if remembering a gentle presence that once filled the room. She hears stories of kindness, sees smiles when her name is mentioned, and feels the warmth that Diana left behind. That legacy, though invisible, lives in every corner of her world. Charlotte has grown up surrounded by this invisible light, and it has shaped how she sees others. But something changes when Queen Camilla enters the conversation. Charlotte, still so young, can sense the sudden pause, the careful choice of words, the unspoken tension. She may not know the full story, but she picks up on the unease. Children are more perceptive than we think. They recognize discomfort, even when adults pretend it's not there. To Charlotte, Camilla doesn't carry the same warmth. There's a coldness, a stiffness, a kind of distance that doesn't quite match the stories she hears about Diana. Camilla's path to royalty has not been smooth. She joined the royal family later in life after years of public resistance.
On May 6, 2023, King Charles and Queen Camilla were officially crowned the new monarchs of the United Kingdom.
Many didn't accept her at first, and some still struggle to. Unlike Charlotte, who was born into the royal spotlight and welcomed from the very beginning, Camilla had to learn how to fit in, how to behave, how to earn respect. But that difference is exactly what Charlotte sees so clearly. Charlotte knows she didn't choose her position, yet she takes it seriously. She doesn't just smile for cameras or wave from palace balconies. She understands what it means to be seen by the world. She knows people are looking for something more than just royalty. They want to feel connected, to believe in the kindness and strength behind the titles. And for Charlotte, those lessons didn't come from training. They came from watching Diana's legacy live on in the hearts of the people. What truly sets Charlotte apart is not just her name or title, but the way she makes others feel. She wants to be remembered for how she treats people, not just for who she is. Diana taught her that without ever being in the same room. And though Camilla may have the crown, Charlotte understands something deeper. Love and respect aren't handed out with royal titles. They're earned. But how has this quiet understanding affected the way she sees Camilla? Could this silent tension have sparked something greater? Now, let's take a closer look at Camilla's relationship with the Wales children. A bond that raises more questions than answers. What happened behind palace walls to make Charlotte speak out now? Stay with us. Camilla and the Wales children. a royal bond that never truly formed. In the royal world, every smile, glance, and gesture is watched and judged. But among all the polished waves and rehearsed greetings, there's a quieter story unfolding behind palace walls. The relationship between Queen Camilla and the Wales children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, is one of those stories. On the surface, everything might seem proper and polite, but if you look closely, the cracks begin to show. While Queen Camilla has taken on a prominent role as Queen Consort,
Well, it looks like there could be some big changes coming for Queen Consort Camilla. According to The Sun, close sources say that Camilla is set to drop the consort part of her title and just be referred to as Queen.
her connection with William and Diana's children has never truly blossomed. Prince William, shaped by the emotional turmoil of his parents' highly publicized separation, remains guarded. Even though he maintains a civil relationship with Camilla, it often appears more polite than warm. Years of silent pain still linger from his mother's heartache, pain that no title or royal duty can erase. Kate, known for her grace in managing tricky royal situations, ensures that the children treat Camilla with the respect her position demands. But beyond the royal courtesies, there's a noticeable boundary. Kate doesn't seem to encourage an emotional closeness. It's not out of malice, but perhaps out of loyalty to Diana's memory, and a desire to let her children build relationships on their own terms. In comparison, the Wales children share a much more natural bond with their maternal grandparents, Carol and Michael Middleton. These are the people who attend school plays, make cookies on weekends, and go on relaxed family holidays, offering a warmth and familiarity that isn't always found in royal halls. Whether it's birthday parties in the countryside or quiet summer afternoons, the Middletons provide a kind of love that feels real and unforced. On the other hand, Camilla's interactions with the Wales children often seem stiffer, more rehearsed. At official events like Trooping the Colour, she's frequently seen doting on her grandchildren from her previous marriage. Meanwhile, William's children tend to stand a bit farther away, both physically and emotionally. One such moment caught the public's eye when Prince Louis appeared notably distant during the celebration, even as Camilla laughed and played with her grandchildren. It wasn't a dramatic scene, but it was enough to stir whispers. This pattern continues across various royal gatherings. Camilla's grandchildren seem at ease, leaning in for hugs and sharing inside jokes. But George, Charlotte, and Louis maintain a more formal tone, smiling, nodding, doing what's expected of them. That emotional gap is hard to miss, especially when contrasted with their joyful energy around their parents and the Middletons. William and Kate, perhaps guided by Diana's spirit, are raising their children with a different approach, one filled with affection, normalcy, and connection. From pancake breakfast to after-school activities, the Wales household thrives on love, not just legacy. George often steps into the role of protective big brother with wisdom beyond his years. Charlotte shines with confidence and charm, while little Louis brings the laughter. These are not just royal children. They're real children living within extraordinary circumstances. Still, now and then, a moment slips through the royal curtain. A glance, a body language shift, a distant look, and it hints at something deeper, something unsaid. Now, what truth did Charlotte finally confess? And why choose this moment? Stay right here, because what she revealed sent shockwaves through the entire palace. Charlotte breaks the silence, the secret that shook the royal walls. The long corridor echoed with quiet footsteps as Princess Charlotte walked between her parents, Prince William and Princess Catherine. The royal family had chosen this moment to escape the constant flashes of cameras and the buzzing demands of public duty. Everything about that hallway, the golden chandeliers, the solemn stares from the portraits of generations past, should have whispered, "Calm." But Charlotte's sudden stop shattered that peace. Without hesitation, she turned to her parents and in a voice both steady and sharp, said she couldn't keep the truth about Queen Camilla hidden any longer. Her words didn't feel like a child's outburst, they struck like a declaration. William and Catherine froze. The air between them tightened as surprise gave way to a complicated silence. Charlotte, just 9 years old, had stumbled upon something not meant for her ears. A private conversation laced with doubt, strategy, and a quiet threat. She hadn't been snooping. She was simply there. And what she heard made her chest tighten and her mind race. That same night, she recounted it all to her parents, word for word, emotion for emotion. She explained how Camilla doubted William's readiness for the crown, how she whispered that King Charles should reign for as long as possible, even at the risk of his health. Camilla had made troubling comparisons, saying Charles was steadier, more suited to the crown, while William still had growing to do. The words hurt, but what hurt more was hearing them echoed by their daughter, so young, yet already carrying the burden of royal secrets. Catherine placed a gentle hand on Charlotte's shoulder, advising her to be careful, reminding her that words, even true ones, could become weapons if overheard by the wrong people. But Charlotte didn't flinch. Her eyes held a clarity far beyond her years. She believed what she had heard needed to be known, even if it meant walking straight into a world of whispered politics and smiling deception. Her parents were left stunned, not only by what she heard, but by how deeply she had understood it. Catherine's heart ached watching her daughter wrestle with truths even adults tried to ignore. William, usually calm and measured, looked quietly shaken. For all their efforts to shield their children from the palace's emotional weight, that shield had cracked. And while no official word spread beyond those palace walls, something had shifted. The air felt denser, the smiles a little tighter. Camilla, to the outside world, carried on, attending events, smiling gracefully, supporting causes. But within the private rooms of the palace, Charlotte's words lingered like a soft echo that refused to fade. Some admired Camilla's polished presence. Others, still loyal to Diana's memory, had never truly embraced her. But now, Charlotte's revelation gave voice to an unspoken tension, one that had been building quietly behind polished curtains. And through it all, Charlotte returned to her books and garden games, her laughter still echoing in the courtyards. But something had changed. She wasn't just a little girl anymore. She had stepped into the maze of family loyalty and palace secrets, and that moment in the hallway had opened a door. Charlotte's modern awakening and Camilla's quiet ascent. Princess Charlotte is being raised in a palace where love is louder than titles and emotions aren't hidden behind royal walls. Prince William and Princess Catherine are shaping a different kind of royal home, one where hugs matter more than handshakes, and where being real is more important than being perfect. Gone are the days when royal children were trained to be silent, stiff, and distant. In the Wales household, feelings are heard, questions are welcomed, and mistakes are part of growing up. Even as a young girl, Charlotte carries herself with confidence. She's not just a child born into power. She's someone learning, slowly and surely, that character is more valuable than crowns. Her parents don't just teach her this through words, but through their actions. She's learning that kindness, honesty, and being yourself are what truly define a royal. William isn't just raising a princess. He's raising a future leader who can balance grace with truth. While Charlotte's upbringing reflects modern change, Queen Camilla's story couldn't be more different. She stepped into the royal spotlight much later in life, and not through fairy tale romance. Instead, her entry into the monarchy came with controversy and criticism. She wasn't embraced by the public at first. Many viewed her presence as unwelcome, a reminder of broken chapters from the past. Camilla had to tread carefully, choosing silence over opinion, duty over emotion. She rarely gave interviews or made bold statements. Her passions, animals, reading, and the elderly, kept her quietly occupied, while her public appearances were limited to formal events. Over time, through consistency and restraint, she became accepted, not through love or celebration, but through quiet persistence. She is now queen, not because the people asked for her, but because she stayed the course, always beside King Charles, always careful, always present.
The Queen goes on to admit that she and Charles have always simply gotten each other. She continues, laughing at the same things, getting on with life.
But Charlotte doesn't measure people by history books or gossip columns. She sees the world through her own young eyes, unfiltered, instinctive, and incredibly observant. And sometimes, what she senses speaks louder than what she's told. Small gestures, glances, and silences have begun shaping how she sees Camilla. During Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, a seemingly small moment caught many by surprise. George playfully pinched Charlotte during the procession, a typical sibling act. But what followed was unexpected. Camilla, standing nearby, reportedly leaned in and suggested to Catherine that Charlotte be taken away for a moment. To many watching, it felt cold, especially on a day filled with emotion and grief. It wasn't just about discipline, it hinted at a disconnect. Later, during King Charles III's coronation, Charlotte bowed respectfully to her grandfather. But when it came to Camilla, she didn't. Was it a missed cue, or something more? She stayed close to her parents, barely acknowledging Camilla throughout the ceremony. For a usually poised and confident girl, that quiet distance stood out, not as a sign of rebellion, but perhaps a sign of reflection. It's not about dislike, it's about a child trying to understand two very different ideas of what royalty means, one rooted in tradition, the other growing in openness. And now, we enter a more personal chapter. Charlotte's quiet concerns. What silent thoughts has she been carrying? And why are they beginning to surface now? Stay with us. Charlotte's silent watch. A princess guarding Diana's legacy. Even as a little girl, Charlotte could feel the weight of something unspoken in her home. In a palace where everything glittered and everyone smiled, she noticed what others overlooked. She wasn't just watching for fun. She was quietly absorbing every interaction, every strange pause in conversation, and every polite smile that didn't quite reach the eyes. From the outside, the royal family looked united. But inside, Charlotte could sense a different truth. It started with how Queen Camilla behaved. Camilla never raised her voice, never acted harshly, but Charlotte felt something cold in her presence, especially when it came to George, Louis, or even herself. It wasn't obvious, but it was there, in how Camilla chose her words, where her attention landed, and how often she dismissed anything that hinted at the future Charlotte and her brothers represented. What troubled Charlotte most wasn't Camilla's behavior alone. It was the deeper feeling that Camilla was quietly shifting how others saw Prince William. Charlotte had a growing suspicion that Camilla didn't fully believe in her father's ability to be king, and worse, that she might be influencing others to feel the same way. She once overheard Camilla talking about how people always expect too much from the younger generation too soon. That single remark echoed in Charlotte's mind for weeks. She didn't feel angry. She felt protective, not just of her father, but of what he stood for, of the legacy he was meant to continue. Charlotte knew that if anyone deserved the crown after King Charles, it was William. She'd heard the stories about Diana, stories filled with warmth, courage, and heartbreak. To Charlotte, her grandmother was more than a name in a history book. She was a living part of the family, woven into their stories, values, and sense of purpose. Those stories, told by William in quiet moments, taught Charlotte something important. Strength isn't always loud. Diana had shown kindness and empathy, even in a world filled with pressure and protocol. Charlotte admired that. She took those lessons seriously, even at her age. That's why when she started noticing patterns that didn't feel right, like Camilla's quiet resistance, she couldn't ignore them. She shared her thoughts with her parents not to stir trouble, but because she wanted to protect what Diana stood for and what her father had quietly built in her footsteps. Charlotte wasn't being dramatic. She was being deeply aware, holding on to the quiet strength she'd inherited from stories of the woman who came before her. And now, what does Charlotte represent? A silent heir, or a new kind of power born from memory and instinct? Stay tuned. Shaping the Crown, Princess Charlotte's unseen impact. Princess Charlotte may not have official royal duties just yet, but she's already showing the world that her future in the monarchy is anything but ordinary. Though still a child, her behavior, confidence, and natural ability to connect with others suggest she's being carefully shaped for something greater than ceremonial roles. Even at a young age, she's leaving an impression that few her age ever could. Back in 2020, when the world was struggling through the height of the coronavirus pandemic, Charlotte quietly stepped into a role of service. Only 5 years old at the time, she was seen alongside her family delivering food packages to elderly and vulnerable residents near their Norfolk home. The image of a small princess helping those in need moved many, reminding the public that compassion doesn't depend on age, and that even the youngest royals can have a meaningful impact on the lives of others. Fast forward to 2022, and Charlotte once again stood out, this time during a Christmas carol service organized by her mother, Princess Catherine. While many children might feel overwhelmed in such formal settings, Charlotte handled the evening with a mix of grace and calm. She sang hymns with confidence, greeted guests politely, and showed comfort in the public eye. Subtle signs of a future royal who already understands the weight and meaning of public service. Outside palace walls, Charlotte leads a surprisingly down-to-earth life. She attends Lambrook School, a private institution focused not just on academics, but also on kindness and community spirit. Teachers have described her as bright, lively, and polite, qualities that will certainly guide her as she takes on more responsibility in the future. She's also a lover of sports, especially football and gymnastics. Her competitive spirit and energy show she's learning teamwork, resilience, and discipline, skills that go far beyond the playing field. What makes Charlotte's journey different is how she's being raised. Prince William and Princess Catherine are blending the traditions of royalty with the values of modern parenting. They want their daughter to understand her position, but not be boxed in by it. They encourage her to speak up, ask questions, and explore the world. She's not being molded into a perfect royal robot. She's being raised to lead with heart, voice, and strength. Her connection to her late grandmother, Princess Diana, also runs deep. Pictures of Diana hang in their home, and stories of her compassion and bravery are often shared with Charlotte. These stories aren't just family tales. They're building blocks for the kind of royal Charlotte is growing into, one who values people over protocol. Even during public outings with her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis, Charlotte often stands out. She moves with poise, stays close to her parents, and maintains a calm, warm presence. Yet when Queen Camilla is near, a quiet distance sometimes appears. It's subtle, but those who pay close attention have noticed. These moments, though small, reveal something deeper. And that leads us to an even more intriguing layer in her story. Charlotte's confession could be the very crack that shifts everything behind palace doors. What do you think about her revelation regarding Camilla? Could their relationship eventually heal and grow? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal stories.